Captain Agenda Lilpaw stalked into the mess hall, ready to kill the next woman who demanded that one of the humans bunk with her. Her hackles were up, and her crew cleared a path as she prowled forward. Many of them choking as they did so, as most of them seemed to be filleting their meals rather than eating them. A dangerous proposition when the main course was skewered meat with a side of roasted tubers and some veggies for balance. A bit of everything so that every type of digestion was accounted for. Hundreds of otherwise hardened pirates are grinding their thighs together and clearly daring each other to be the first one to jump the small gaggle of males in the middle of the room. There's a ring around them that starts nearly 4 meters from the lot. "One side, you thirsty idiots! Eat your food, stop playing with it, and then get back to work for pity's sake," she orders, shoving several crew members out of her way and sitting right next to them. "Captain!" The nearest male, larger than the rest with very dark skin and short, neat braided rows in his dark hair, salutes her. She scowls. "Right, no salutes. Sorry," he says. "Do you idiots know how many demands I've gotten about your sleeping arrangements?" She hisses at them in a simmering rage. 5 to 10 times the actual population of the ship. One of them mentions. Wait, that's almost it, exactly as it was roughly 7.3 times. "You shits been hacking the ship? Again?" "Yes'm." The same one answers. He's smaller and has a flatter face with somewhat paler skin and short, dark hair, and a pair of corrective glass lenses resting on his nose that has arms that reach back to his ears. "It's very easy." "Christ, Ryu, you're gonna drive her to drink." The largest one notes with a shake of his head. "I already drink." Agenda huffs, eyeing the half-full pitcher of booze in the middle of the table. "Drive her to drink more. Not that this horse piss really counts as a proper drink." The next biggest one states. He's a study in opposites with the other large one. Just as big, smaller only by a tiny measurement, but pale in all aspects from nearly white skin to yellow-tinged hair to pale blue eyes. "What's a horse, and why are you comparing our booze to its piss?" "Because this stuff is weak as piss, and a horse is a herd and draft animal our species domesticated in antiquity. We even rode the bastards to war," the pale big one says, shaking the pitcher and taking a sniff before glancing over at Agenda. "Speaking of horses, Captain, you look like you've been run down by a herd of 'em." Brent notices from 3 places down. He then grabs his plate and wipes it down before putting his last skewer back on it. "Load it up with your spares, gents," he orders, holding the plate out before wiping off his fork and putting onto the plate, even as samples of tubers, vegetables, and a few more skewers are piled onto it. It lands in front of her as a massive, mouth-watering mound of food with a half-full pitcher of booze right beside it. She pauses. "You know that bribing me with food and drink from my own damn kitchen is a shit attempt at currying favor, right?" she asks. "That only matters if it doesn't work, Captain." The large dark one notes, and she snorts in amusement before grabbing 2 of the skewers and all but inhaling the meat off them in her hunger. After the first bite of temptation is taken, her restraint vanishes and she savages the meal with all she has. She has to use the booze as more of a dining aid so that she doesn't choke on a couple of occasions before letting out a satisfied sigh. The sound of restrained laughter has her glare at the cretinous males forced into her crew, and they clamp down on it tighter but are clearly even more amused. Her mood is improved with a full stomach regardless of the terrible company, and she takes a moment to sort her thoughts. "All right, you punks. Your quarters are sorted out. This ship has 6 levels and you're on the 2nd. Forward left, we use it for storage when we take on a glut of plunder. It's up to you to furnish it, and I don't care how, buy, borrow, make, or steal. I really don't care. If you're sleeping anywhere else, it's only with the express invitation of everyone in that room, get it?" "So, from how thirsty these girls are, we're mostly just using that room to store our stuff, I take it," the one sitting opposite of Brent asks. His skin is pale but speckled with bits of brown, and his hair is an odd copper color. "Hey, you might finally get laid, Freckles." One at the end teases and gets an upraised middle finger from the one nicknamed Freckles. "Oh, fuck all of you. I'm going to check on the engines. They're rattling really weird." Freckles curses as he goes to stand. "Wait, what did you say about my engines?" Agenda demands, and he looks kind of sheepish. "It's probably just me, ma'am. I've got hypersensitivity with hearing and touch, so I have a high-pitched whine with a little clicky-click buzzing in my ear. I can also feel it through the deck plating." He answers, and she quickly glances to her wrist computer and sees his bio. There's a note on it in the corner beyond his name and a picture. "All right, Franklin, hold tight, Mabby. Stop drooling over yourself and get over here," she bellows, and the engineer in question rushes up. "Tell her what you told me." She orders, and the human nods. "I have hypersensitivity to hearing and touch. I've been hearing a high-pitched clicking whine ever since I came on the ship and feeling it too. I narrowed down its source to the engine, but I don't know what it means." Franklin explains, and Mabby goes from visibly eye-fucking him to confused to surprised. "Wait, there is something up. It's not urgent, so I was leaving it to after dinner, but what's it sound like? What's the pattern?" Mabby asks, and Franklin holds up a finger before letting out a keening sound before 2 rapid clicks with his tongue. The keening noise continues before the 2 clicks repeat. "And you can hear it?" she asks when the impromptu show is finished. Her slitted eyes are wide with shock. "Feel it too. What's it mean?" "This ship uses an engine for a beast an order of magnitude bigger than the claw. It slowly shakes itself loose over a period of a few months, but if you stay on top of it, it's fine. Lets us get up and go way faster than most targeting computers can predict. We're at least a week away from the danger zone, and you can tell there's a problem." "That's insane," the mechanic mutters before grinning. "Come on, newbie. You're going to show me as many of the loose connectors as you can find," the feely engineer says, grabbing the human with one of her dexterous but possibly deadly paws and leading him off. There are, appropriately, catcalls as they pass the rest, and a good chunk of the engineering crew break away to follow their leader and what is no doubt their new prize. "I better go make sure they don't eat the poor bastard. He's clueless when it comes to people," Ryu says, standing up after quickly stacking Franklin's abandoned plate and cup onto his own tray before putting his tray onto Franklin's. "Someone take those to the wash for me, please," he says before rushing off and dodging through the crowd with a grin. "I think we've been abandoned," Brent notes with a grin even as Agenda looks into the note on Franklin's file. "The hell is high-functioning autism?" she demands, looking up, and there are some uncomfortable looks. "That's not an answer. It's a mental disorder, one he was born with. Basically, he's got some over-the-top senses, is really bad at picking up social cues, and tends to be manic-focused. In his case, it's with science fiction and fantasy, so he's easily kept entertained," Brent says, and she turns it over in her mind. He's clueless idiot that hears and feels more than he should? Okay. How manic are we talking? What's he going to do? She asks, just making sure this isn't some danger to her ship or crew. He's memorizing the ship inside and out as we speak. A surprising number of people like him signed up for the training. A lot of them flunked out, but a sizable portion of the graduating soldiers were completely obsessive sci-fi nerds. Franklin's one of them. Right at the top, his idea of rest was mastering galactic trade or the specifications of the warp drives. What was more work for us was restful for him. It was insane. The large, pale one notes. It wasn't fair is what it was. The bastard made it look easy. I nearly went insane trying to understand things and falling asleep feeling like I've been thrown down the side of a mountain, and he was smiling the whole way through. Brent grumbles and the table laughs. You contemplated strangling him a few times, haven't you? Agenda asks with a smile. Now she was in familiar territory, bitching and griping and sassing. Try constantly instead. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate the guy. He's too nice to hate, and will apologize for things that aren't his fault. The large, dark-skinned one remarks, typical Canadian. One of them further down notes. Bald and round of head, but just as strong-looking as the rest, he's pale and shiny from the head he clearly polishes for some reason. Yeah, the dude's the friendly and polite Canadian almost to the point of parody, but it's authentic. Catch him off guard and he's still friendly and polite. That's how you know it's real. Brent finishes and notices Agenda frowning. What? Canadian? Is that some kind of subspecies? Country. Humans are a very divided species. The project to actually build and crew the Dauntless is one of the first truly international efforts. The only thing our race almost completely agrees on, with only the craziest and most superstitious people arguing against it. Me and Jake over there are both American. Brent points to the large, dark-skinned man. Our home country shares the world's largest unprotected border with Canada, Franklin's country. Ryu is Japanese, an island nation. I am Victor, of Russia. the larger pale one says. Egypt is my homeland. Beck is my name, says the one next to Jake. I am Lou, a Chinese man, says the smaller man next to Victor. Jean-Luc of France, and you bastards shut the fuck up right now, one of the ones near the end says before snapping at the rest. Some of them put their hands in the air and surrender, but everyone is smiling. A few are even holding back snickers. What am I missing? Agenda asks. I share my name with a main character from a popular science fiction series. I've heard unending jokes during training and transit. There is nothing these idiots can say that I haven't heard too many times as is, Jean-Luc mutters. I mean, good God, I'm basically the man's opposite, but for the name, what more do you guys want? To know if you want your tea, Picard, Brent mocks him and nearly throws himself out of his seat to dodge the thrown mug. Beck catches it, then seems to toast him with it and a mocking smile. Fuck all of you! I'm going! Jean-Luc snarls, standing up and stomping out. Brent just makes a face at him as he goes. Don't forget! 4 hours Rambo-thon deck 4! Victor calls after him and gets a thumbs up just as Jean-Luc leaves the room. Rambo is? Movie series. The first one is the only one we might not play, but the rest is some good action. We're basically taking over the tactical center on 4 to do this. Brent answers offhandedly. That happens every day anyways. If it's not an active use, then go wild, just don't break it. Agenda remarks as she sees her crew, finally start to relax around the men and filter in to sit at the same table. So there's 10 in total, but I've got 8 names only. Miles, Franklin, Jake, Ryu, Victor, Beck, Lou, and Jean-Luc. Who are the last 2? Marcus, I'm Roman, the round-headed one says quickly before taking his last bite of his skewer. I am Sai. My family hails from India. Though with the traditions of my homelands, I doubt I shall ever return. There is a dim view on piracy and such back home, even if it is sanctioned. What? One of her crew asks. Honestly, Agenda was expecting this sooner. Or more likely, it was Sai that it bothered the most. My home country is somewhat bound by an archaic caste system. I had to let go of many of my ideas and tenets of faith to merely pass the tests. Would I return even after 20 years of flawless service spending, but a day with pirates and the knock-on effects will be huge. These pirates are more advanced than nearly the entirety of India. It won't take much for you to spin it properly. Marcus tries to assure him. No, unless there's a major shift of my people, working alongside pirates means that one will be taking the lives of others without it being in the defense of life. This is a tainting of my flesh. To remain untainted, others are not to touch me. I have become untouchable. Only in India, and scorn will fall upon them if you make it known, then they will be untouchable. If they're wise, then they shall know this and abide. Beck counters, but it clearly doesn't land. I doubt it. Still, I choose the stars. Excuse me, Sai remarks, standing up and grabbing the empty trays of Ryu and Franklin before heading to the kitchen. You gonna be there for the movies? Victor calls after him and he nods before leaving. Several crew members chase after him, no doubt seeking to comfort the poor man. You've all burned bridges, haven't you? Agenda asks as she reads the sheer weight that seems to have fallen on the men. Even going on the initial mission was burning a lot of bridges. We've severed friendships and familial ties for a shot at the stars. The smart money was on the ship being attacked and everyone inside taken as slaves. The fact we've subverted it doesn't make things much better, Jake explains before running a hand over the tight rose in his hair. Hell, I'm still wrapping my head around it and I've got criminals in the family. We're more black ops than mafia, Victor says, and Jake nods after huffing a breath. As a small argument breaks out, a small alert goes off on her wrist computer and she checks it before rolling her eyes. Another small bit of stupid at the helm. The girls there couldn't find filth in a sewer, made them great at taking orders without question, and even better in a fight, as they were generally too stupid to know if they were in danger, but hot garbage, for when she wasn't there to babysit them.